Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha. One of the things that we do in the Spokane Sangha that is a little bit unique is we take Buddhist practices and principles and we study them at length. We spend a whole month on a particular topic. And if you're interested in knowing what the different topics are for 2025, it'll show up in the chat connected to our website. For the month of April, we are exploring something in Buddhism called the Four Noble Reminders. And the Four Noble Reminders are you have a precious human life. And that's what we began this month contemplating, a precious human life. The second noble reminder is the nature of reality is impermanent, which means everything is subject to change. We suffer because we cling. We try to hold on to things staying the same. And when they don't stay the same, we feel out of control. And so often that out of control feeling feels bad. And so we grasp for whatever feels good. This is the nature of being human. And the more we can sit with and grow our capacity to be with change, the more ease and peace we bring into our lives. The third noble reminder is karma. And this simply points to our actions. And this is probably one of the most challenging topics for the Western mind because we have been conditioned to think about actions in terms of punishment and reward. In Eastern perspectives, the notion of karma is neutral. Actions are actions. And some of our actions produce consequences, fruits, however you want to think about it, that are positive, negative, or neutral. And the invitation as we think about karma is, how do I feel? So if I'm engaging in a behavior that feels bad, why am I continuing to engage in that behavior? Unless my goal is to continue to feel bad. And maybe that is worth looking at. But there's that neutrality about it. Would you look at that? I'm just getting myself all worked up and I'm reacting to it and I suppose I just want to feel worse. Curious. The issue is that sometimes we can forget that we can feel better and heal. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more this evening. The fourth noble reminder has to do with this cyclical way that we engage with life. Over and over and over, we make the same mistake. We keep looking for a better result, and we stay on that hamster wheel. It's called the folly of samsara, and we'll talk about that next week. Tonight, for our practice and our exploration of karma, I'd like to bring forward a sentiment of metta, loving kindness, as an anchor for our practice. For those of you who are new, Sangha members send me and Soul Center art. And if they're not warned, they might be shocked to know that the art usually gets chopped up into these tiny little pieces. And I write sentiments of metta on the back. This one, it's so beautiful. This beautiful blue was painted by our wonderful Sangha member Sean C., who's here this evening. And this sentiment of metta, loving kindness, reads, "May my struggles become my teachers. May my struggles become my teachers." Arrive fully to this moment, friends. And let's begin our contemplation and this wonderful opportunity to reflect and be in this moment by tapping into our faithful companion, the breath. and simply allow your awareness to notice how you breathe. You may have lots of thoughts and stories racing around in your mind. That's okay. Let them have a little space to be as they are, and see if you can draw a little bit more awareness, a little bit more concentration to the breath, breathing in, breathing out. Friends, the Western mind is highly conditioned to dualistic thinking, right or wrong, black and white, good and bad. And when this comes before the very vast concept of karma, we immediately assign reward and punishment. If I do bad things will happen and I'm a bad person. If I do good things, then good things will happen and I'm a good person. And so if we have that limited view, and we do, all of us do in some way or another, what ends up happening if we're not careful and not cultivating a spirit of curiosity is we become very transactional. And so what ends up happening is I do something good, I expect something good to happen because of my good action, and it doesn't, and now I'm pissed off. And I feel like I'm being punished, maybe. And karma, again, is something else. It's way more neutral than this. And so we really have to work with karma at the level of the heart instead of the level of the mind. Thinking, figuring, creating some kinds of transactions, keeping score, keeping tabs, that kind of thing. Karma has no use for any of that. So I'd like to bring forward our sentiment of metta. May your struggles become your teachers. May my struggles become my teachers. And let's highlight some words here. The first word is struggle. I am a human being, we're all human beings, and therefore, by virtue of being human, we are going to struggle. That is the nature of reality. We're going to think about when you were learning to walk. It was such a struggle. You felt down, but with practice, you went from crawling and scooting to walking and running. With so much mobility, so much practice, but initially it was a struggle. You don't look at a baby struggling to walk and think, wow, I wonder what your karma is that you can't figure it out any faster and get up and walk. We recognize that it's a process. This is the struggle. I'm going to work with it. And our mistakes inform what we're going to do next. So as a toddler is learning to walk and wobbling, grabbing on tables, learning to navigate different terrain, they're getting all kinds of input that enables them to adjust, to learn, to grow on a very unconscious level. All of those struggles and interactions become teachers. It informs their solidity, their strength, their proprioception, their balance. And pretty soon, with time, they walk with confidence, with strength. And when they're really little, they walk and run with disregard because they don't understand safety. They may not really have learned stairs and gravity, so they just go racing for the stairs. Why I'm bringing this up is because at some part during our development, we began to treat struggles not with acceptance, not as an opportunity to inform how I can get better, but as a place to resist, a story even. I'm struggling to learn a new skill. I'm frustrated that I'm not good at it right away. I resist the process and I judge myself for being bad at it and I give up. Karma is that process. A struggle comes into your view. How do you respond to that struggle? Do you react with resistance and judgment? That action is going to create a negative essence around the experience. That's karma in action, in your actions. You're not a bad person, and it's not even necessarily a wrong thing to do. It's simply something to notice. Wow, look at me resisting. Huh. Would you look at that? I wonder what I'm doing. And maybe I'm resisting because I don't quite know how to accept. I don't quite want this particular teacher. I don't look at this particular struggle as an opportunity. I'm not ready for that yet. So right now I am responding and reacting with resistance. And the result of that is going to be discomfort. Okay. Let that be what it is. And then by allowing ourselves time to sit with that discomfort, maybe that's the environment in which we experience a little bit of wisdom. But the more we resist, I don't like the struggle, I'm resisting it. Oh, now there's discomfort, I'm going to resist that. Now there's anger, I'm going to resist that. I'm going to pretend I don't even feel it. And we just keep going on in this very unconscious way. And lo and behold, we don't learn, we don't grow, we don't mature. That is karma. That is our actions dictating how we are in the world. But as we learn to be with these afflictions, these struggles, and see them as opportunities to learn, see there's a teaching going on here, suddenly new things emerge, things we may have never thought about. And suddenly whole new avenues to experience life open up. And maybe life begins to be a wonder. There's a cautionary note in this practice, and that is, don't be in a hurry to have your struggles become your teachers. Being in a hurry is actually another form of resistance. The invitation and the practice is being with the struggle for as long as you need to be with the struggle, where it naturally begins to bring forward ease and understanding. And that can take some time. And I'm not talking about a day or two. I'm talking about weeks, months, even years. Let me give you an example. I have a daughter who was very sick when she was little, and I hated every minute of that experience. And I read many autobiographies and memoirs of people's cancer journeys, and they inevitably would reach a point of the journey where they would reflect back on it and say, this was really the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'm like, yuck. Nope. My daughter's cancer journey is not the best thing that ever happened to me, nor will it ever be the best thing that ever happened to me. It was a terrible thing for a little 4-year-old to shoulder. It was awful. It was devastating. It was painful. It rattled me to my core. It peeled away all kinds of nonsense. It was very, very painful all the time. And it was a profoundly spiritual experience too. Both are true. So when we're working with our struggles, the invitation is to be genuine and gentle with it. I'm uncomfortable and this is awful and I hate it. But I'm not going to take that discomfort and now react in negative ways toward my loved ones. I don't have to go out and use substances about it and abuse my body and brain. I don't have to jump on the internet and become a keyboard warrior. I don't have to overeat or undereat. I can simply be with what I hate or what I find uncomfortable for a minute, for a year. And even in that sitting with the discomfort aspect, teachers will appear. Insights will come. Friends, I'll end the practice on this note. Coming to a recovery peer support meeting, whatever that peer support meeting is for you, whether it's a recovery Dharma meeting or a traditional program, doesn't matter. We can look at having to go to a meeting in a couple of ways. One is that because of my negative relationship to habit energy and the misconduct, the negative misconduct that has ensued as a result of my actions, I have to go to a peer support meeting. And at the same time, because of my positive actions, I get to come to a meeting and I get to gather with a collective soul that is wise and compassionate, just like me, gentle and caring, striving to heal. Our struggles and our teachers come in many disguises. Alrighty, let's go ahead and end our practice together with a dedication of merit. In the Buddhist tradition, whenever we come before the three jewels, some communities call it the three treasures, the Buddha, the human being who lived 2,500 years ago, who was able to awaken to the causes and conditions of suffering in his own life and the causes and conditions of suffering, period. He created and shared stories and for 40 years devoted his life to teaching what he understood, and that is known as the Dharma. And the third jewel is the community, the Sangha, wise friends coming together, talking about the Dharma, recognizing our own Buddha nature, our own capacity to awaken to the conditions of our own suffering, to really tap into our innate wisdom, to deepen our understanding. So we set an intention at the beginning of the meeting, and today's intention was to look at our struggles as teachers. In the Buddhist tradition, we end the practice with a dedication of merit. And the merit is the goodness that we have generated by prioritizing this time, by allowing the body an opportunity to rest, by bringing some additional oxygen into the body, by being around all this amazing energy, this insight, and these opportunities to heal. We dedicate all of that goodness in a spirit of awareness that it's not just for us. There are thousands of people in our local communities who are suffering deeply for all the reasons that humans experience pain. We dedicate this practice to anyone who feels alone and lost. We dedicate this practice to people who are in jail and prison, who are sick in the hospital, who are in lockdown in a psychiatric unit, who are alone and isolated on the street or in their car, people who are maybe from a broken home or are experiencing some alienation from people they love. Maybe even people who've had to draw very strong boundaries and separate themselves from people they love. So many people suffering. May the goodness that we've created here ripple out into the world. Find these people, wrap them up in a moment of warmth, hope, joy. And may we continue to find the courage and the strength to continue this practice, maybe even return here tomorrow evening. Until then, friends, namaste.